There are three things that you can always count on in this life: death, taxes, and The Simpsons. It's always comforting to know that your favorite yellow family will be there waiting for you after a long day working at a job that you hate. So crack open a can of Duff and settle in as we look at the top instances of The Simpsons predicting the future. So for all this and more, stay tuned right here at Wonderlane. What's your favorite Simpsons episode? Be sure to let us know in the comments. Let's get it started with a Simpsons prediction that started as pretty ironic, but turned out to be reflective of today's society. Specifically, it's the 9th episode of the second season in which Marge Simpson is very upset about her kids watching the controversial Itchy and Scratchy cartoon. She actually starts a Karen-esque movement to censor the show. Marge's movement, supported by many parents, eventually succeeded, and the show became more family-friendly. But the protest went way too far when Michelangelo's David was to be exhibited in Springfield. For those of you who are unaware of what is objectionable about the David statue, it's naked. In the show, it was a funny joke, but in 2016, 26 years after the fact, this actually happened. In St. Petersburg, Russia, a movement was formed protesting the David statue for its nudity. Similar to The Simpsons, it was mainly parents of children who complained since a school was located nearby the statue. A mother in St. Petersburg asked for the statue to wear pants at the very least. Like in The Simpsons, the Russian movement was a success. Now let's move on to another one of the most incredible Simpsons predictions that actually came true. The episode in question is titled Bart's View of the Future, and it dates back to the year 2000. In the episode, Bart meets a fortune teller who tells him how the lives of he and his family will drastically change. His sister Lisa, for example, manages to become president of the United States and has to deal with a huge mountain of debt caused by the previous government. Lisa is very upset to find out that the former president, Donald Trump, drove the nation into terrible debt. This was a full 16 years before he actually did become president. The creators later explained that they wanted the episode to have the most unlikely candidate for president for satirical purposes. Turns out the joke was on them, and all of us. Our next bizarre Simpsons moment actually has the show influencing the future in the episode. In the 2001 episode Hungry Hungry Homer, Homer Simpson is the owner of the Springfield Isotopes baseball team, and he asks for a refund for his ticket. By mistake, Homer accidentally opens a wrong door and sees a room filled with jerseys and plans for a new baseball team, the Albuquerque Isotopes. Homer eventually figures out that the team's owner plans to abandon the Springfield Isotopes and start a new team in the desert town of Albuquerque. Snap back to reality. In 2003, the Canadian baseball team, the Calgary Cannons, had a major financial problem and planned to move to the United States. A sports association in Albuquerque was interested in the club and finally bought the team and looked to rename it. In fact, they chose the name Albuquerque Isotopes, exactly 1 year before the airing of the Simpsons episode. This episode also had a considerable impact on the name search because the Isotopes owner Ken Young explained he was inspired by the cartoon. As a reference to The Simpsons, characters from the series were even placed in the Isotopes' real stadium. Now let's move on to The Simpsons predicting an event that pertains to a different sport. In March of 2014, the episode Homer the Pipe appeared, in which the Simpsons family travels to Brazil. There, Homer is to serve as a referee for the World Cup. During the World Cup match in the episode, Brazilian star Devo was forced out of the contest with a pretty gruesome knee injury, leading to a German victory. The episode aired a few months before the World Cup, and some newspapers headlined that The Simpsons had predicted that Germany would be world champions. This came true. Even though Germany did not meet the Brazilians in the final game, it is correct that both teams played each other during the World Cup, and Germany came out on top. The Simpsons even predicted a major injury to the Brazilians as Neymar was carried out of the game with a leg injury. Our next prediction pertains to the tragic death of basketball phenom Kobe Bryant. The premature death of one of the greatest basketball players of all time shocked the world, and shooting the CVS receipts for frozen dinners for one into the trash will truly never be the same. Shortly after the death of the famous star, several videos spread claiming that The Simpsons actually predicted that Bryant would pass away. In fact, Kobe Bryant did appear once in The Simpsons in 2011. In the crossover episode, Homer tangles with all sorts of familiar characters such as Pinhead, the villain from Hellraiser, or Penguin from Batman. One of his opponents is Kobe Bryant. In Bryant's short Simpsons debut, however, he is struck down and he falls unconscious. So the Simpsons didn't exactly call this shot, but it is bizarre that in Kobe Bryant's one appearance on the show, he got severely injured. Although the Simpsons may not have exactly predicted this, another TV show definitely did. The Comedy Central series Legend of Chamberlain Heights. The animated series revolves around the everyday life of a couple of friends who want to become successful basketball players. In the episode End of Days, the main characters are walking down a street when suddenly a helicopter crashes to the ground. A man escapes from the destroyed helicopter and calls for help. One of the main characters calls out, "Oh man, guys, it's Kobe Bryant." While helping Kobe save all his precious trophies, the helicopter suddenly bursts into flames. As we all know, in real life, Kobe Bryant did pass away in a helicopter crash. Thus, the series unintentionally created a prediction that came true in a pretty frightening way. Incidentally, the network stopped the airing of this episode. Before we look at our final Simpsons prediction, let's take a look at a few honorable mentions. There are many to choose from as the series has been running for several decades, and there have been some unbelievable prophecies. For example, in an episode from 1995, you can see a picture of the City of London. Beside the Big Ben and the Tower Bridge is a pointed building. The building has the same shape as the Shard, a modern skyscraper that was planned in 2003. Even crazier is the fact that the frame from The Simpsons is drawn in correct perspective to the Big Ben. Also, The Simpsons predicted in another episode that Lady Gaga would appear in the Super Bowl halftime show. Even some aspects of her performance were depicted by the television series. Also, the tiger attack on the magicians Siegfried and Roy was spoken into existence by The Simpsons 10 years before it actually happened. Now let's look at another crazy one, circa the 1998 episode In the Shadow of Genius. In this episode, Homer draws a complex equation on a blackboard. As a scientist later explained, Homer's formula was actually a groundbreaking discovery. It can be used to calculate the mass of the Higgs boson, aka the God particle. This method was not discovered in science until 14 years later, which truly does make Homer Simpson a genius. Now let's move on to our last incredible Simpsons prediction. This one's a pretty obscure detail, but to this day it is considered one of the scariest prophecies ever made on the show. In the 1997 episode Homer in New York, the Simpsons travel to Manhattan, where they then visit the World Trade Center. The whole episode revolves around the world-famous towers. One little joke from the show, however, turned into a pretty gloomy prediction. Right at the beginning of the episode, Lisa holds up a brochure that advertises travel to New York for $9. The joke was that it's so cheap because no one wants to go there. Here's the problem. In the brochure, the $9 is placed eerily close to the Twin Towers in the background of the brochure. This makes the brochure read as 9/11. My knee-jerk is to say that's in poor taste, but 9/11 had not happened yet. And therefore I tip my cap to the time travelers sitting in the Simpsons writing room. That's going to do it for our episode on some more crazy Simpsons predictions that actually came true. Did you enjoy this video? Be sure to let us know in the comments what you'd like to see a video on next. And as always, be sure to like and subscribe to Wonderlane for new videos like this every other day.